It's the largest and highest grade on record in the country of Zambia, to our knowledge, and we're advancing that target. So, we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but a fellow joined us in the last year named Kevin Bonnell. And Kevin Bonnell was the geologist that drove the development of the Lumwana mine next door to us.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Adrian O'Brien. He is the Vice President of Business Development for Midnight Sun Mining Corp. And Adrian, good to see you again. How are you?
Good to see you as always, Steve. Doing great. Busy times over here.
Yeah, you've got a lot of updates from a number of your projects. We'll talk about that in a second. But for those not familiar, maybe just remind everyone a little synopsis of the company.
Absolutely. So Midnight Sun is working on a very, very large project in an area called the Domes region of Zambia, which is arguably the top spot in the world today for copper exploration. If you can imagine, every single major copper producer, operator, miner is in that country, and the 5 biggest copper mines in Africa surround us. So we're working on 3 big sulfide targets. And when I say big sulfide targets, we're looking for deposits that are 1 billion tons in nature. These are some of the largest deposits in the world, and probably one of the only places on the planet that breeds billion-ton deposits as an average. So it's a special place. We have 3 big targets for one of those type of sulfide deposit. And then we have this unique kind of optionality that really you don't see very often in our sector. And that is we're working with First Quantum under a cooperative exploration plan, which is a non-binding arrangement, but we're working together to define oxide copper resources at surface that could serve as source feed for their oxide circuit at the Kansanshi mine, which is right next door to us. So if we're successful, that could mean very significant near-term cash flow for us.
Okay, so in the news release, you talk about a number of things that the company is doing right now, or have done and are about to do. And so I thought maybe we'd tackle some of those. Let's start with Dumbwa, because that target is significant and there's a lot of work that's been going on there.
For sure. So Dumbwa is what we would refer to as a tier 1 exploration target, meaning if you need to check all the boxes, there's certain criteria you're looking for, particularly in an area like this, that would tell you that there may be a very big copper system at play. And Dumbwa checks all the boxes. This is as good as a copper target gets. We have a 20-kilometer long soil anomaly, 0.73% copper at surface. So that, to give you an idea, 0.56% is about the average of the grades of the mines that surround us. So very large, very high grade soil anomaly. It's the largest and highest grade on record in the country of Zambia, to our knowledge, and we're advancing that target. So we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but a fellow joined us in the last year named Kevin Bonnell. And Kevin Bonnell was the geologist that drove the development of the Lumwana mine next door to us. That's owned by Barrick. That's their flagship. That's driving the transition for Barrick from Barrick Gold to Barrick Metals or mining, whatever they end up settling on. So they're becoming a major copper producer based on this asset. Kevin's the guy that drove that. He led a team that took Barrick's Lumwana mine from 900 million tons and a tier 2 asset to 1.62 billion tons at 0.52% copper and a world-class asset. And Kevin joined our team about a year ago, and so he's driving all of our geological development. So the approach at Dumbwa is really straightforward. First, you need to have a geochem anomaly. We have that. We have the largest and highest grade on record in the country. Next step, you run something called a dipole-dipole IP survey. So this is a type of geophysical survey that tells you how deep and how the mineralization is sitting in the ground, so that when you start drilling, you're drilling this thing and knowing what you're drilling before you even put a hole into it. So we're running that IP survey right now. We've just announced that we're about 30% completed, and that's 30% completed on the actual geophysics. We had to do line cutting and stuff prepping that. So we're further along in the greater scheme of where Dumbwa's at. And once we get those results, we can plot drill holes based on that survey and then start drilling Dumbwa systematically for the very first time. So we're going to launch that program within the next month or two, and it'll be like a $3.5 million, 10,000 meter drill program. So that is super exciting for us.
Okay, and speaking of drilling, you are about to start drilling at Kaziba. Maybe talk to us a bit about, I know you've got a contractor set to go and drilling's literally starting next week.
Yeah, we're ready to rock at Kaziba. So Kaziba has 2 different fronts. So going back to that First Quantum plan, we are working with First Quantum at Kaziba on these oxide blankets. We announced those drill results a while ago, and I mean, 21 meters of 10.5%, 26 meters of 5.5%. These are really high grade, spectacular results. But outside of that, we have a sulfide target, and we believe that if this sulfide target is successful, it is probably the source of all of those oxides. And so we located a large 4 kilometer by 2 kilometer target, and it's in the right geology. It's in the same geology that hosts 85% of the copper deposits in the belt, which is called the Lower Rhone, sits on the edge of one of these big basement domes. And we have gone in there and taken that original VTEM target, done geochem on top of it. That worked as well. So then we ran partial ionic leach. That worked. And following that same methodology, we ran a dipole-dipole IP survey, which confirmed that this is a stratigraphic sulfide unit. And in plain English, that means it is a sulfide deposit at depth of some type. We know there's a lot of copper based on partial ionic leach. So now we're drilling it for the very first time, starting on Monday or Tuesday of next week, and projected to be starting on the 26th. So this is an exciting time. This is transformative development that we're doing at Kazhiba and pushing this target forward. We're going to find out how big it is.
And real quickly, I just thought I'd get a quick update on the Me Too trend. I know there's a sampling program that's going on there right now, and that's kind of sort of the start of the boots on the ground type work, right?
Exactly. And so if you look at Me Too, I mean, we're talking, so the Solwezi Dome, which is one of these big basement domes, is kind of the center point of our project, right? 506 square kilometers surrounding this thing and over top of it. Dumbwa is one of the only deposits that's in the basement dome, but most of these deposits in the belt sit around. We shouldn't call Dumbwa a deposit yet, but system, we'll say. If you look at where we're working at Me Too, we're looking at the entire western flank of that dome as highly prospective. And there's 2 areas where we've intercepted sulfides in drilling already. So those are those intercepts that were already made were 11.5 meters of 3.5% and 11.5 meters of 1.5%. So very significant, but never approached those targets in a systematic way. So going back again to that same methodology, get your geochem first, then do dipole-dipole IP to confirm the target, and then drill it off. So we're in that phase now where we're doing partial ionic leach surveying across the entire western flank. It's 1,800 samples or so. It's a really aggressive plan. And then that will take us to the geophysical survey and finally drilling later this year.
Busy times ahead for sure, Adrian. Thanks so much for updating us on where you're at. I know we're going to talk lots more in the next coming months because it is going to be a busy one.
You bet, Steve. Appreciate it.
All right, good stuff. Adrian O'Brien, he is the Vice President of Business Development for Midnight Sun Mining Corp.